This section will cover the grants as special funds, grants to be handled by the district's finance department, grant expenditures and transfers, the role of the grantee, the role of finance, and special reminders to the grantee. Grant awards are considered special funds because each grant has its own timeline requirements, programmatic objectives or goals, and fiscal processes. If you receive a grant whose award amount is over $2,000, it must be fiscally handled by the Rio Rancho Public Schools District Finance Department. If the award amount is exactly $2,000 or less, it can be deposited into and handled through the student activity funds. We will be discussing guidelines for grants handled by the district office. Grant award checks are deposited by the finance department. Please provide the check to finance, who is legally required to deposit the check soon after it is received. Do not hold the check for any reason. Also provide copies of grant approval award letters and grant details such as important timelines and fiscal requirements to finance, who will help assign the grant a fund number and provide fiscal support for the grant through that fund number. The grant awardee must provide finance a detailed budget to help prepare a budget adjustment request. The BAR must be approved by the state's public education department and then entered into the district's accounting software by finance before any expenditures on the grant can take place. Once the grant's BAR has been approved and entered into the district's accounting software, ALIO, grant expenditures can take place through the requisition and purchase order process. Initiate requisitions and purchase order requests with your school's secretary or bookkeeper. Please ensure the account string you intend to utilize has enough budget to cover the expenditure. Otherwise, you may have the option of requesting an IBT. As long as the transfer remains within the grant spending stipulations and budget, it will be processed by finance. Initiate IBT requests with your school's secretary or bookkeeper. If a grant award is a direct pay, the full amount is sent directly to the district and no reimbursement requests or invoicing from the grantee or finance is necessary. If the grant requires reimbursement requests through PED or through GAPS, finance submits such requests according to the grant reimbursement guidelines. If the grant requires reimbursement through invoicing or billing to the grantor, the grantee submits such requests according to the grant guidelines and stipulations. The grantee also submits copies of the invoices or billings to finance, who will process the payments once they arrive. Among other responsibilities, the role of the grantee includes creating a budget that remains within the award amount and details the expected expenditures and corresponding costs. The grantee provides finance grant timelines, copies of award letters, and indications of fiscal requirements. The grantee and finance prepare a BAR. If the grantee covers salary and facilities expenditures, the grantee communicates such to the Departments of Human Resources, Facilities, and any other impacted departments. The grantee ensures the grant's programmatic goals and objectives are met, and expends only within the grant budget guidelines and stipulations. The grantee maintains a grant budget of only positive balances. The grantee submits required reports. If the grant allows for an expending deadline extension, the grantee submits such requests. Otherwise, remaining funds may be returned to the grantor. In addition to grant requirements, the grantee abides by the district's timelines, policies, and procedures affecting the grant and vice versa. Finance provides the grantee fiscal support. Finance helps provide account codes and account strings that correspond to the grant budget. Finance provides the grantee bar preparation and assistance and submits the bar to PED. Once approved, Finance enters the bar into the district's accounting software, Alio. Finance deposits grant award checks and processes requisitions and purchase order requests. Finance processes inter-budget transfer requests. For grants that require reimbursement requests on the OBMS website through PED or e-grants through GAPS, Finance submits such requests. Finance maintains a file record of any fiscal procedures processed under the grant and responds to fiscal information requests from the grantee or grantor. Grantees. Please remember that grant awards do not belong to the grantee. Instead, they are awarded to the grantee on behalf of the district. Be sure to pay particular attention to the grant's timelines and highlight important dates. Be aware of grant extension opportunities and requirements. Communicate all fiscal-related concerns to Finance. Remember that follow-through is key in grants management. Finally, you are encouraged to seek grant opportunities, and Finance looks forward to providing you fiscal support. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions pertaining to grants in our district.